Hey guys, what's up? On today's episode, we talk to LaVonte Earley. LaVonte is a professional fighter, 10-0 champion fighter out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Please forgive the technical difficulties. You're going to hear some sound clips and things in and out. There's only so much we can do on Wi-Fi with everyone at home and so on. If you listen to episode 4, you heard Adam Esposito, which is actually Von's boxing trainer. Adam won North Carolina Boxing Trainer of the Year twice in the last 3 years, and Von is his fighter. This is a great episode, lots of information, fun and insightful, some having to do with boxing, but mostly having to do with mindset, commitment, dedication. So this applies for absolutely everybody, and Von is a lot of fun to listen to. It's a really cool convo. As always, please subscribe, rate, review. All of these things are helping us bring you fantastic content. Check out our website, thetwistlife.com, and hit us on all social at thetwistlife.
So one thing that you have to accept is you got to realize that you're going to want to quit. And that's the part of stuff that people don't really like to talk about. Like, people always like to talk about the motivational side of stuff. They like to talk about, like, oh, when you're going through this, just think this. But it doesn't work like that.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Brian Orr, aka DJ Twist. I'm here with Mr. LaVonte Earley. He is a professional.
Sure.
Are you professional now? Is that what it?
Yeah. So I'm a professional fighter. Yeah.
So we're a professional boxer. We're going to be talking about all things fighting, mindset, inspiration. He's a really cool guy, dressed sharp as hell. Looks like he plays guitar, and he has my initials.
Yeah, I play a little guitar.
And you have my initials on the top letter of your wall, so I'm good with that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's Brian Orr right there. I gotta get
nice.
that. LaVonte, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, baby. I'm good, man. I'm feeling good. I woke up early this morning, man, to get some stuff together. The last couple of weeks before the fight, it's just hectic. You're running everywhere, like, it's just ridiculous. So,
Well, introduce yourself real quick to the audience. Give me a little bit of background, and then we'll catch up to where what you're preparing for.
Okay, awesome. So I'm LaVonte, the world-class gentleman, Earley. I'm 10-0, 5 KOs out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Currently hold the NBA national championship belt. That was my last fight in September. I just fought for that recently. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I was born and raised here. I still reside here, but I plan on doing a little shaking around, man, and getting out.
So Charlotte, North Carolina, I mean, it's not really known as a boxing town, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How did you get into boxing, being in Charlotte? What are your inspirations? What brought you into the sport?
Yeah, so I was getting into some trouble at around 15, 16, and my dad used to box. My uncle was an Olympian. And so my dad, and I did every other sport, man. I did the football thing, I did the basketball thing. I did basketball at a young age. I was actually really pretty good at football and baseball too. I did some baseball too. And, they never really stuck. They never really stuck like that. So, I went through a little rough patch in my teen years. So my dad was like, you're going to get into something, you're going to do something. So he took me to the boxing gym, man. And, the rest is history. It was one of those things where as soon as I started it, I was good at it. So, as a kid, like when you're that age, man, that's really all it's about. It's like first getting that initial spark, where you're good at something or you could do something, and that gives you that initial motivation to want to do it. But then later on, it just became something that, much, much more than that. It became something that I eventually used to challenge myself and maybe into a man, and save my life in a lot of ways.
Wow. So you have that story, I hate to say typical in some sense, but it is what we know of boxing, what your average person knows of boxing is mostly through the movies, that sort of stuff, whatever the story is. And it's always somebody who had a little bit of a rough childhood, or they were screwing up or making mistakes. whether it be from circumstance or just because they're fuck ups. I mean, some kids are just fuck ups, right? Like it doesn't matter if they come from the best place. You're still so like it seems to be a consistent theme in boxing that if you're having trouble, either your parents put you in, or you choose it, or you find the gym or whatever, and then things change, right? You like you said, you found the sport and things change. What is it about boxing, do you think, that why is that the story we know, and why is that the story that's actually fairly true most of the time?
Well, I think it's the fact that boxing challenges you physically and mentally. It's like one of those things. It's like the great equalizer, man. It's like if you're gonna get into boxing, it's gonna be something that is gonna set you straight regardless. You know what I mean? Well, a lot of people get into it and they don't get necessarily set straight, but in the same sense, it's one of those things that challenges you in every way possible. And so a lot of times that's all people need. That's all you need, really. It's like when you're going through something, or when your focus is on the wrong thing, it brings it all back in. And so that's why people I think that's one of the biggest reasons people go to boxing for that. It's a lot of ways to express that emotion, express that physicality, you know what I mean? Like that's just man. Boxing is all of that.
Is that something you weren't able to find through maybe the team sports? Is it more of an independent thing?
And that's exactly what it was, man. It was the team sports. I wasn't really into the team sports. I felt like that you had to rely on too many people, and it was too many opportunities for other people to mess up. You know what I mean? This is something that's completely dependent on you. I mean, it's all the way dependent on your actions and what you do on a consistent basis. Like it's all determined by your hard work and what you put into it. So, but sometimes now it's like, damn, I wish I had somebody.
You got a tag team boxing match or something? You ever want to tag them in? Yeah. So that's it. That's an interesting, psychological take that I hadn't really thought about with boxing as an independent sport, is having the ownership of the outcome. You want that ownership. Like, I'm going to dictate what happens to me, and I don't want to rely on anybody else. So it's nothing against any other sport. Certain people work better in team dynamics. Certain people only have, whatever this skill set, and it needs to be complemented with another skill set. With boxing,
right, exactly.
With boxing, it's just you. That's wild, man. That's wild. So how long have you been fighting now?
10 years, man. It was 10 years this February. Yeah, it was 10 years this February. So
talk to me about starting it at 15 or so. Your dad, obviously, you mentioned, was in the picture. Was your uncle, did he help you through this? And you said he was an Olympian. Was he a fighter?
Yeah. He was a fighter. Yeah. So no, because it was indirect. So my uncle got my dad into boxing. Yeah. So my dad used to box. He was an amateur boxer. He had a lot of potential to do some things. So so my uncle got my dad into boxing, and then my dad was like, well, this is something that I've always loved. So it was crazy because I used to always go and watch boxing with my dad. You know what I mean? Like, me and my pops used to always go and watch boxing, and I would always see him watching boxing. My grandfather was a huge boxing fan. And so I was always around it. I just never in a million years thought I would be a boxer. Like, I never thought that. I never thought that, that boxing was going to be my path,
Yeah.
Would have never guessed that.
Explain to me what happens from 15 to 25. If you're telling me you're fighting for 10 years, I would think you would have more than 10 fights.
Yeah. So no, I've only been pro since 2016. So I was an amateur. I started in the amateurs at 16 I had my first fight. And then I didn't go pro till 2016.
Okay.
So I've only been pro. Yeah, I've only been pro for a couple of years. So I went pro in June of 2016.
And how do you make that leap? How does somebody go from amateur to pro?
Paperwork, man. That's all
really?
It really takes. Yeah, paperwork. The difference is your success in amateur to pro. That's the difference. You know what I mean?
Explain that to me.
Yeah, so as a professional, anybody can sign up and become a professional boxer tomorrow. I mean, we could sign you up. And I know your name too, Brian Norris. So I might be able to hook some stuff up. So yeah, but yeah, so we could sign you up tomorrow for it. It's the only thing is the paperwork. Now, some states some states require you to have some sort of amateur background to be able to go pro. But states like the southern states, like North Carolina, Tennessee, they don't require you to have any amateur background for you to be able to go pro. Now, the difference is the success when you go pro, or your path when you go pro, because there's a lot of different paths in boxing. You could be somebody who's just in it to make money. There's plenty of guys that are 0-8 or 0-9, you get what I'm saying, before the commission makes them stop fighting. But if you want to actually make something in this game, if you want to be somebody and actually make some real money in this, then you have to have an amateur career. You got to have an amateur background to some extent. I mean, of course, there's always exceptions. Like you got people that had 1 or 2 amateur fights and then just really, really made their name in the pro ranks. But it's very, very rare. So it's all about your amateur background, and then what you choose, where you choose to go for training, like what you choose to do to cultivate your career.
So talking about training, to walk me through, you mentioned you have something coming up in a few weeks. So you have a fight coming up in a few weeks. What's your training look like? And how does your training differ, maybe 3 months out to 3 weeks out to like 3 days out?
Okay. Yeah. So you got the difference in training. So I never really stopped training. The most I might take is like a week break or something like that, but I never actually stopped training. But the difference is, if I'm getting ready for a fight, we go into fight camp. So fight camp is usually between 10 and 6 weeks, depending on the fight we got coming up or how early we know about it. And so you got this 6 to 10 weeks that you're either focused on preparing for a certain person, or you just really picking things up. So usually if I'm not in camp, I'll train once a day. But as soon as I get in camp, I'm training twice a day. My runs in the morning. Well, actually, this camp I switched it up. I've done all my runs at night. I've done all my runs usually around like 9ish, 10ish at night. And what I found is it actually helps me a whole lot more to get a little bit longer runs out and get right to sleep, But yeah, so I'm doing my runs at night. I'm doing my conditioning in the morning. So training, a normal conditioning day is, you getting some band work in there. You might do a little bit of weights. Everything is based on performance. So the way that I would train is a whole lot different than the way that somebody that's just hit the gym is training, because I'm training for optimal performance. I'm trying to move as fast as I can. I'm trying to do it for as long as I can and be as strong as possible while doing it. So the performance is the purpose. And then like mid-afternoon-ish, that's when I get with Adam, and me and him, we do the boxing work. So it could be pads, bag work, the noodles. You ever seen the Canelos slipping with the noodles and all that stuff? Yeah, it could, the bodysuit, a bunch of different stuff. That's when we get most of the boxing work in and stuff like that mid-afternoon. And then at night I run. So really, honestly, like 3 a days.
Right. How many hours in total do you think that is every day?
Ooh, that's good. So I get there 9:30. I'm there till about 11, include my stretching. So probably at 9:30, 10:30. So the hour conditioning, about an hour and a half of like the boxing work, hour and a half, 2 hours to boxing work. So that's 3. Then, as far as runs, so probably about 6 hours a day with everything.
Nice.
Yeah, about 6 hours a day with everything.
How focused are you on your nutrition?
Oh, very, very, very. So when I go into camp, I'm vegan. No meat, no cheese, no dairy, no anything like that. I don't need any meat or anything like that during camp. Now the reason I do that is because a couple of years ago, I just tried it out. I tried it out for a couple months, and I felt a lot better. And so I found a vegan nutritionist, because my biggest hang up was knowing what to eat and knowing exactly when to eat it and all that good stuff. So I found a vegan nutritionist, and he introduced me to intermittent fasting, and wrote my meal plans. But most of all, he helped me learn, what everything that I was eating was, how it was affecting my body, and like how it could help me with recovery or hurt my recovery and stuff like that. Like it was just so much to it that I didn't know. And it got me into actually paying attention to what I put into my body, and taught me how to read labels and stuff like that. Now I had nutritionists before, but they were all like cut and dry, cookie cutter type stuff. Like they give you a notebook that has your carbohydrates and your fat lipids and it explains all of that stuff, right? They're like, here, take this notebook, eat eggs in the morning, chicken in the afternoon, peanut butter and yogurt, like, just like basic
And it's the
stuff.
same one they give to every fighter probably, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it works, but it's not optimal. It's not really for you. Like my nutritionist, he was in Arizona. So he would call me and he would call me like twice a week, ask me, how this affected me, how this changed it, where do we need to go here? Where's your weight at this time of the day? Like where, like everything. He was very, very attentive and he made sure that, my camp went smooth. And so I met my goals. And so I never really went back from there.
Yeah, there's a lot of lessons in that, right? Like, one, don't be afraid to try things out, go outside the box. Don't necessarily subscribe to even if somebody's a professional, they give you this cookie cutter notebook. Like, it's the same diet, the same fitness plan, the same training 3 months out is not going to be the training you need 3 days out. The same food you eat 3 months out, so, and that works. I can see that in any level, in business and in at home with your family life with kids, right? Like the same formula doesn't work for everybody in every single scenario. You have to be able to be aware of that and be willing to explore other types of options. It sounds like you're pretty fluid with your training, with your education, trying to continuously evolve and optimize, like you mentioned. I think that's pretty important.
Like that's what it's about, man. Like even when it comes to my conditioning, like I talk to my coach all the time about like just like trying out different stuff and seeing how it affects me. Like my last camp, I had a personal trainer on top of my conditioning. So I was like lifting weights, I was doing a lot of stuff, but to me, I feel like it helped me in some ways, but I felt like it hurt me in some ways too. You know what I mean? Like it was some things that helped me out a lot. Like I felt a lot stronger, but then on top of that, I felt a little slower,
Yeah.
But I looked great though. I look like a specimen, but at the same time, it's like it's about the performance.
How important is that to carry that into the ring as well? Like you mentioned, training for a specific opponent. Let's say you trained everything. What was it? Rocky II when he switched to southpaw and whatever. How I would imagine that's pretty important too. Getting in the ring, being able to say, okay, I prepared in this certain way, but he's coming at me with something that I wasn't ready for. How does your mind work in that type of situation?
So I think that's probably like the epitome of my game. Like what I really like when people ask me what my style is, right? I feel like, I'm an artist. Like I'm a person, I'm a creative. So things like that are my favorite. Being presented with something that I, haven't really seen before is like, it's one of those things, it's like a puzzle that I have to solve. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that in some way you already have the answer for it. You already have the answer. It's in there somewhere. You just got to figure out a way to get to it. You got to figure out a way to find it. And so when somebody does something in the ring that I'm not prepared for, I immediately take a mental note and I make an adjustment for it. That's what it's all about, like just making adjustments. That's the difference between good fighters and great fighters. A good fighter is going to do what he does very, very, very well. A great fighter is going to do what he does very well, and he's going to be able to adjust and make adjustments.
How do you train for that? How do you train even if it's mentally, even if it's reading books or doing puzzles? I don't know, like how do you psychologically train for being able to make that mental note, adjust, and then while still not getting punched in the face?
Right, exactly. Because that's the main part.
Right. When it's all said and done.
Yeah, so a lot of that just comes in repetition and getting different looks, like going different places, sparring with different people. People from different areas have completely different styles in boxing. Like I went to DC, man, and everybody's like sitting down, everybody's trying to take your head off, everybody's, like trying to stay in the pocket. You go to New York and everybody's flashy, everybody's, moving their head, like everybody's, so, and then in Vegas, it's kind of a mix of both. you got the Hispanics that are all like come forward, big punches, and you got the guys out there who same thing, trying to be Floyd. It's just so many different styles. So the more looks you get and the more experience you get with just being in there with different people, it helps you to make the adjustments that you need. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by it's always in there somewhere. Like nobody's ever gonna just do anything that you just never ever even seen a piece of.
Right.
You know what I mean? At some point in your career, and that's why the amateurs are so important, because you have to be able to go up against those different styles. You got to be able to mix it up with the different kinds of fighters.
Do you feel that boxing is your gift to the world, or is there something bigger than boxing, and boxing is just the vehicle that you're using to get there?
That's a great question. Is boxing my gift to the world? Nah, I think my gift to the world, man, is I think my dedication to what I do. I think it could have been anything. Like I could have been anything. I went to school to be a clothing designer. So like if it would have been that, I would have put the same energy and effort into that. I just feel like that it's more so about me having a goal and having a vision to something that I want to do and achieving it, because it's a lot of people that I grew up with, and, I had many friends die and stuff like that in high school. Like I had a bunch of stuff going on from there. So to me, I feel like me being an example of somebody who, was around the people that I was around and came from where I came from, that it doesn't matter where you're from or where you're going through. In that sense, it's like it's all about how you apply yourself and what you do with it. You know what I mean? So even if all of this is for me to be an example for my little brother to do better than I did, that's enough for me. I think that's more so my gift, man, is that I could be that example and I could be that role model for somebody.
Yeah, that's really good. Do you have obviously you're intelligent. You're, a lot of times, stereotypical boxer, right? We're thinking punch drunk and that, right? Like, you don't usually I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to talk to a boxer. He's probably going to be like, oh, you're Adrian, all right? That I keep doing the Rocky references. I can't help it, but I'm obsessed with Rocky. I love boxing. I wish I was into it more, but being friends with Adam, he's starting to get me into it a little more. But
okay.
So but there's as we've mentioned, a tremendous emotional aspect, psychological aspect. It's so much more than just the physical brutality of like a fighting sport, right? Do you have maybe like a mindset or something that you subscribe to that from a psychological, emotional, mental standpoint that's like, this is, you live by a certain mission or motto or something like that?
It's a principle that I live by that, do you know who David Goggins is?
I don't.
David Goggins, man, is like one of the most inspirational people ever. I love David Goggins. He was a Navy SEAL, did a whole bunch of 100-mile races. Literally, you could list all the stuff he's done forever.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's always saying, right when you're at that max, like right when you're at that point where you just know in your heart you can't go anymore, you're only at 40%. And that's something that always pushes me. It always, makes me go more, because I know I always have more in the tank. You know what I mean? I know I always have more to offer and more to give. Like, even if I feel like that I'm completely done, I never allow myself to just give up and just be out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if I feel like that I'm at max potential, you're only at 40%.
Huh. You still got more.
Yeah, you always got.
How do you reach down for that? Walk me through it. You're in that moment. You're maxed out. It's the 8th round. It's like, oh, I'm dying, coach. What do I do? How do you fight through that?
So do you know that feeling when somebody's explaining something to you and then you finally understand it?
Okay, like the clarity that yeah.
Yeah, like when you go, oh, okay, like you really get it in that moment. Like that moment where you finally understand something for that quick second.
Okay.
So when you have that, it's kind of in the same thing. So one thing that you have to accept is you got to realize that you're gonna want to quit, and that's the part of stuff that people don't really like to talk about. Like people always like to talk about the motivational side of stuff. They like to talk about like, oh, when you're going through this, just think this. But it doesn't work like that. Like,
Right.
everybody's gonna want to quit. Like you're gonna want to give up. And people view that as weakness. Like people view that as like, oh, well, I wanted to give up in that moment, so that must mean that I'm not that tough, or I wanted to quit in this and at that point, so that means that must be as far as I'm going to go in this. But that's not true. Everybody wants to quit, especially the people that make it, that actually go through with it. And so I first came to realize that I'm going to have that moment of I want to quit. I'm going to have that moment of I'm too tired to do anything else. I'm going to have that moment of I want to stop. But it's what I do in the seconds after that. It's what I do with my decision after that. You get what I'm saying? So maybe this is my one thing. Like you said, one thing that I always live by. I always live by make a decision. Like try to make everything yes or no. When it comes to stuff like that, especially physical things, try to make everything yes or no. So what that means is that if I commit to something physically, I've committed to it. Like if I say I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do it. Like I don't have any question in my mind. So like if let's say 6 miles, right? Let's say it's a 6-mile run. I say I'm gonna go run 6 miles. It's no longer I get to 4 and I start getting tired and I'm like, well, maybe I could do 5 and we'll call it a day. It's like, no, I'm tired. How do I get through this last 2 miles? Like, what is it that I do to get through these last 2 miles? Anything else is not an option. So like just making the decision and then realizing that there is no other option, because that's what happens in the ring. Like once you're in there, your gloves are on, there is no other decision. Like you gotta fight. And so I started approaching life like that, just making a decision. And then as soon as you make a decision, it's not, oh, okay, let me go back and try to do this. Now it's like, how do I make this happen no matter what?
That's great, man.
No other option.
That's really good. Can you explain to me briefly what a world-class gentleman is?
Oh man. World-class gentleman. Yeah. So that name actually it's crazy because who knew? I've been making this name for 25 years. But yeah, I feel like that name came from my everyday life, man. Just how I was living life. And my mom always taught me like chivalry. My mom always taught me like you open doors, you make sure that everybody else is okay, before yourself. You make sure that if you're in a room of people and you're hosting, or even if you're not hosting, you make sure that everybody got something to drink, that everybody is okay, that everybody is, in the right place. So that's where I feel like the world-class gentleman came from. Even though I went through the things that I went through in my life, that was the one consistent thing, was my character and who I was in my heart. You know what I mean? And so that's where the world-class gentleman came from. And I felt like, because the first thing we all came up with was just the gentleman. And I was like, that doesn't hit hard enough. Like I'm like,
so we need some better branding here than that, right?
Yeah, I was like, I'm more than that. Like, because I felt like that it wasn't just about that. Like, it was about taking that message and spreading it everywhere. You know what I mean? And so that's where the world-class gentleman came in. It's like that level, and then it's the next level. And I feel like the world-class gentleman was just like the way of saying that next level gentleman, like all around, like the character, the everything, who the person is overall, deep down to their core.
Yeah, I really like that too. That's a great message to carry forward. Like, you could be having great times. You could be having terrible times. You could be having good, things are going wonderful. You could have a tragedy. You could have all sorts of things. But what truly stays consistent is the person who you are inside, and making sure that that's always on the up and up, that you have your true character carrying through, and that will sort of be a great vehicle to help you persevere through whatever bad times and that sort of thing. Stay true to yourself and establish a good character, good morals, and that's what that sounds like that your mom taught you, and that's kind of what you're living your life through. I think that's a really great message. Yeah, awesome. This was a lot of fun. We're gonna jump into our rapid fire questions real quick.
Cool.
I'm gonna hit you with some questions, just the first thing that pops in your head. Quick questions, quick answers. Have fun with it. You ready to rock?
I'm ready to roll. Man.
Okay, cool. Who is the last person you texted?
My hairdresser.
That is gonna go down as the most unexpected question and answer in the history of this Twist Life podcast. All right, perfect. Shit, I just want to stop right there. All right, 2. What is your absolute number one biggest pet peeve?
Ooh, that's a good one. My absolute number one biggest pet peeve probably has to be balls of hair. You know how
balls of hair.
Yes.
I thought you said balls with hair.
Yeah, I hate balls with hair.
I hate balls with hair, dude.
Like, you see these things? Smooth, like eggs. Nah.
Shit. All right. Balls of hair, clumps of hair. Got it.
Yeah, like clumps of hair. That's
no doubt. If you won $1 million, what's the first thing you would buy?
My mama house, like the rappers.
Beautiful. Tell me, what's $1 million? Tell me, what's the first thing you would buy?
The first thing I would buy, I don't know, probably a financial advisor, to be honest. That's probably the first thing I would buy.
Smart.
Yeah, that's the first thing I would do.
Smart. Like one to like live in your house and pick up the balls of hair, or like
probably so. Seriously,
or just or yeah, you would hire somebody to handle that money. That's a smart move.
Immediately. Like I wouldn't fucking tell anybody. I'm not telling nobody. And then I'm gonna get a financial advisor, and then I'll let people know.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so now what is your go-to combo?
Ooh. Oh, it's a good one. Probably a 1-1, probably a 1-1-2, or my lead hook. I like to lead with the hook.
Okay.
I love that punch. That's one of my favorite punches. Yeah. So like a lead hook to the head, drop down to the body with the hook, and then come straight with the 2 or with the uppercut.
All right.
But it's usually probably a 3, a 7, and then a 4 up the middle.
All right. I appreciate the demos too. That's nice for the YouTube channel. If you could trade lives with anyone for a day, who would it be?
Probably J. Cole.
J. Cole? Would you have a concert that night?
Yeah, I would have a concert now. He's one of my favorite people in this world.
Cool.
I'll probably trade lives with him.
Cool. Do you have to calm yourself down or hype yourself up before a fight?
Both. Definitely both.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What is your most useless talent?
My most useless talent. Whoa. Oh, that's a good one. My most useless talent. Oh, I'm really I'm really good at aquascaping aquariums.
Aquascaping aquariums. Okay.
Yes.
You mean it like, is that like landscaping inside aquariums?
Yeah. I'm really good at that.
Awesome.
Probably my most useless talent.
All right. Tell me one way to get into an opponent's head early.
Kiss him on the forehead, man. Kiss him right in the forehead.
In a clutch? You're clutching them, and how do you do it?
Kiss him right in the forehead. I would never do it, but I'm saying that's how.
Oh, that would work. Okay. Yeah, that might work.
Right.
That might work.
What's the way that I do it? What's the way that I get in somebody's head?
Yeah, you don't have to give your secrets, but like, what would be you think the best way? I'm going with kiss on the forehead. I'm leaving it right there. That's the one.
Well, what do I do personally? I would say just show how much fun I'm having. Like, no matter what, like even if it's a fight, man, I love this. Like, I love this. I really do.
Yeah.
Like getting punched, all that stuff. Like people always ask me that a million times. Like, oh, how do you get punched every day? I love it, man. This is what I do. You know what I mean?
How many third graders can you take in a fight?
Probably at least 8. I can take at least 8 third graders.
All right, we'll go with 8. What happens when what happens when that 9th one is that when you're reaching for the tag team partner at number 9?
Yeah.
No, help me take these little guys out.
Yeah, because the first three, I'm just gonna Nah,
That's easy.
I don't know.
Yo, they
Yeah,
swarm. You ever
yeah.
seen Jurassic Park, bro? They might get at you. Once they start piling on like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit him in the body though. I'm not gonna. Everybody wants to punch in the face. I'm gonna
Body
punch
blows to the
I'll
third
punch a little
graders.
kid right in the stomach.
And now we have the soundbite for the episode, right? Oh man! All right, let's get through this. We'll get through this. What is your favorite boxing movie?
Right now, I would probably have to say Creed, the first one.
The first one, yeah.
Yeah, I like the first Creed. That's my favorite one right now. The only reason I wouldn't say Rocky is because I didn't grow up in that era, and I only seen like one of them.
Oh, dude.
I know,
man.
I know. I just hurt your feelings.
Oh, that's terrible. You got to go back and watch it. Promise me you're gonna watch it. I mean, really think about it this way. That's almost like Star Wars for you. Like you entered into the future, and then you go back and watch the prequels because all preceded Creed, right?
Yeah, definning.
So now you know.
Scouts honor, man.
All right, bro.
I got you.
Cool. There's gonna be a pop quiz next time after you're fighting. You might got a couple other things to focus on right now. I know. What is your favorite post-fight meal?
Post-fight meal. Oh my God, I love to go to Dave and Buster's and get those sliders, dude. I don't even know what they're made of. They put it's like a burger and of just a bunch of different sauce, a little bit of avocado. But French fries is my favorite absolute food ever.
Okay.
I would literally take French fries over anything.
Okay.
So I get a huge thing of fries and those little sliders and, just have a ball, man. I love those things from Dave and Buster's.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
You're going to die.
Just put everything into perspective, huh?
Mm-hmm. You're going to die. It's probably the best advice I've ever received. You're going to die. Like one day you're going to die. Like one day you're not going to be here.
Right. Having that awareness.
Yeah. Like while you're here, because I think we walk around every day and we forget that.
Yeah, that's true.
I think we forget that we're going to die or that we can die doing anything like getting in the car.
Give advice to your teenage self in 2 words.
Woo! Give advice to my teenage self in 2 words. Keep going. That's it, man. Keep going. I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change a thing, bro.
Nice.
I wouldn't change a thing. No, I was saying I feel like that every single thing that I've been through happened exactly when it was supposed to.
Right.
I
hear that. All right, final question. If you had the whole world's attention for 10 seconds, what would you say?
You said the first thing that pops into my head?
Whatever it is.
If I had the world's attention for 10 seconds.
Yeah, I want to know that. What was the first thing that popped into your head?
I can't even remember what it was now because I started thinking about something else. I'm trying to think, man. If I had the world's attention for 10 seconds, how much pressure is that?
That's the
what
pressure,
kind of question is that, man?
This is the twist life, baby. You got to be able to, bob and weave, right? You got to take it as it comes.
The world's attention for 10 seconds?
Every single person in the world is tuned into you right now on this camera. You have 10 seconds to say whatever you want or do whatever you want. What are you going to do? What are you going to say?
First learn how to love yourself. I probably would talk about that for the 10 seconds I had.
Yeah, loving yourself.
Like, and how important
and letting them know they were going to die. And that's it.
Hey, love yourself because one day you're going to die.
There you go.
All right?
Perfect. That works for me.
One day you're going to die.
That works for me. Yo, this is a lot of fun, bro. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, man, that was the hardest question I've ever been asked in my life. I'm going to write that down because I got to have an answer for that.
All right. Sounds good.
You can do me like that in the interview again.
When we reconvene and talk about Rocky, you can let me know what your thing is. Where can people find you otherwise? You have a website or social or what?
Yeah, both of those. So my website is WCG, the World Class Gentleman, right? WCGsociety.com. And my Instagram, right, which is probably the best way to reach me. And you can probably directly DM me. I answer back. It is Von, VON _WCG.
Okay. Von_WCG. And the website is WCGsociety.com.
Yes, sir. That's it, man. That's the easiest way to find me.
All right, man. I'll catch you soon, brother. Be good.
All right, man. Thank you.